Hi everybody, this is Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's around 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, November 6th, coming on this morning with the latest on a rapidly strengthening Hurricane Rafael, which is approaching landfall in Cuba. That's expected later this afternoon. Right now, the center of Rafael is located about 60 miles to the east-southeast of the Isle of Youth. That's about 130 miles south-southeast of Havana. Maximum sustained winds are now up to 110 miles per hour. So Rafael is expected to continue strengthening and become a major hurricane before landfall. Data from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft suggests the pressure is down to about 960 millibars. The storm is moving quickly off to the northwest at 14 miles per hour. We're going to see those hazardous conditions spread on shore with the center passing just east of the Isle of Youth and then making landfall in western Cuba, likely with the center passing west of Havana later this afternoon, and then moving across Cuba and into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico late tonight. Again, we're going to have multiple life-threatening hazards playing out. We have a hurricane warning that's in effect for western Cuba this morning, and that is going to continue through the afternoon and tonight. We're expecting a storm surge of 9 to 14 feet above normal tide levels, near and just to the right of where the center crosses the coast here in western Cuba. And that's going to be a life-threatening storm surge that we're expecting there. Very heavy rainfall is also expected across portions of western Cuba. Widespread rainfall totals of 4 to 8 inches, isolated totals as high as 12 inches in western Cuba, and that's going to lead to the possibility of life-threatening flash floods and landslides. And if we look at the radar here in the Cayman Islands this morning, you can see the eye here to the east-southeast of the Isle of Youth, again moving off to the northwest at 14 miles per hour. The hurricane-force winds are going to spread on shore in western Cuba later this afternoon. Moving on now to the impacts that we're expecting in the Florida Keys. We have a tropical storm warning in effect for the middle and lower Florida Keys, as well as the dry Tortugas. We've seen the track of Rafael's center shift westward since yesterday, but we're still could see tropical storm conditions, especially in gusts in the lower Keys and the dry Tortugas beginning tonight and continuing into the early morning hours on Thursday. If we look at the time of arrival of those tropical storm force winds, they'd be in the evening to overnight hours here in the lower and middle Florida Keys. Now, looking at the longer time ranges, we've been talking for the last couple of days about different track scenarios that could play out here over the northern Gulf of Mexico. We are expecting Rafael to maintain hurricane intensity through Thursday and even into Friday as it moves west-northwestward across the southeastern Gulf. Then there's been a trend more towards a more southerly or westerly track here in the central Gulf of Mexico. It looks like there's going to be a ridge of high pressure that's going to prevent Rafael from turning northward toward the northern Gulf Coast. So we've been adjusting the track forecast southward. Wouldn't be surprised to see it adjusted even more southward later today and tonight. But again, the environment over the central Gulf is not expected to be conducive for Rafael to maintain hurricane strength. We could see steady to even rapid weakening as we go through the weekend and into early next week. But again, folks along the northern and western Gulf Coast, still keep an eye on updates to the forecast for Rafael as we go through the rest of the week. If you look at the timing of any potential impacts there, the chances of tropical storm force winds at any one given location are relatively low along the northern and western Gulf Coast, but if they were to occur, it'd be sort of in the Friday to Saturday timeframe. So we still have several days to see how that evolution of Rafael is going to play out. So again, let's hit the major talking points here for Rafael on this Wednesday morning. It's expected to become a major hurricane before it reaches western Cuba and the Isle of Youth later today. We're expecting life-threatening storm surge, damaging hurricane-force winds, and destructive waves, as well as the potential for life-threatening flash flooding. Tropical storm force winds, especially in gusts, are expected in the lower and middle Florida Keys beginning later today and tonight. Rainfall will bring areas of Rafael will bring heavy rainfall, additional 2 to 4 inches to portions of the Cayman Islands, and again up to 12 inches of rainfall in portions of western Cuba through Thursday. Flash flooding and mudslides and landslides expected in areas of higher terrain in western Cuba. And then finally, it's too early to determine what, if any, impacts Rafael might bring to portions of the northern and western Gulf Coast later this week or into the weekend, but residents in those areas should monitor updates to the forecast. So you can come back to the National Hurricane Center website, Hurricanes.gov, for the latest on Rafael throughout the event. For those of you in the Caribbean, you can get more information from your National Meteorological Service, and in the United States, you can get information from your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov. We'll be back with more on Rafael later today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Brennan at the National Hurricane Center.